Hello everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome to another video. Today I'd like to share with you the importance of score layout in Sibelius or any other music notation software that you're using. I'm using Sibelius. This is Sibelius Ultimate. I just newly installed this based on a subscription. Okay, now if you're an arranger or an orchestrator or even a composer who uses music notation software, one of the most important aspects of writing, apart from your arrangement or your composition, the next crucial part is preparing the score and to make sure that your score layout is clean and neat. Three main reasons why score layout is important. The first reason is so that the score is easy to read, either by the music director or the musicians. When you're writing music, when you're preparing a score not for yourself, but for the orchestra or you're writing for an orchestra or a band or a group. So you have to make sure that what you prepare is easy to read. If your score is dirty, if your score is untidy, it makes it difficult to read, and a difficult score to read, people will just put it aside or reject your score immediately. Yeah, I have seen in my experience, I have seen scores being thrown away. I have seen conductors and music directors tear up a score in front of the orchestra, just because it's not easy to read, just because it's untidy, just because there are so many problems in the score that it makes it impossible for the orchestra to rehearse or to play the music. Yeah. So one of the reasons, reason number one is it's easy to read. Yeah, when you have a proper score layout. Now, because your score layout is easy to read and your score is clean, your score is tidy, it saves time. Okay, so reason number two why is score layout important is that it saves time. Now bear in mind that when an orchestra is rehearsing, it's not only rehearsing one song in a concert. Yeah, they are rehearsing probably more than 15 songs in a concert, depending on the length of the concert. If they are recording in a studio, there is a consideration of the amount of time that the studio is booked. So there's financial circumstances there. Now, if there are problems in your score, it will waste a lot of time. An easy song can consume a lot of time, not because of the song, but because of the way the score has been prepared. So you have to make sure that your score layout is clean and tidy so that it saves a lot of time. When the music plays for the first time with no stops and no problems, and again your score is easy to read, and the music plays again for the very first time from the start to from the beginning until the ending, once through, it makes life easy, and everyone is happy. And it saves a lot of time. Okay. Now, reason number three, and I believe this is the most important reason to make sure that your score layout, your score is clean and tidy, is first impression. What does first impression mean? This reflects on you as the arranger or the orchestrator. Okay. Now, as an arranger, for me, and as an arranger, I've been around. I've been writing for about 10 years now. Most of the time, people don't know who the arranger is, meaning that they don't see you in person. You probably go to one rehearsal session. You sit somewhere. In the somewhere by the side of the stage or backstage or at the audience somewhere behind, you sit in quietly and watch the orchestra rehearse. most of the time, or there are many times where somebody calls me up and then says, "Hey, Lukman, I want you to write this. I want you to arrange this music for me, and email it to me." And that person could be 500 kilometers away. So when his group or his orchestra rehearse, they don't see me in person, and I'm not there during the rehearsal. But even though I'm not physically there, the first thing that the musicians see on the score, apart from the title, is this. You have the composer of the song or the singer, and this one, gubahan in Malay means arrangement. And your name is there. Yep. So let me show you the violin part, for example. Yeah. So they see the title of the song, and then on the right side of the song, some arrangers, they put their names down here, or copyright. But this is common practice, where you put the composer's name and your arrangement, your initials down here. So Gubahan Lukman Aziz means arrangement by Lukman Aziz. This is the only time. This is where they get to know who the person behind the score is. And first impression is very important, especially if you're a new arranger, if you are a student, or if you are just starting out in the industry. First impression is everything. Yep. So if your score arrives on their desk with many problems, even before the music starts, they don't know how your arrangement sounds like. So even before the music starts, their first impression is visual impression, looking at the score. And so if your score is untidy, there are problems in your score, no phrase markings, no dynamic markings and whatnot, it's going to be a problem for you. It might be, and in my experience, I have seen this happen again. There were many problems with this person's score, and musicians were complaining, and that was the first appearance of this person, and that was also the last appearance of that person in that orchestra. It's very unfortunate, but as an arranger, as an orchestrator, we have to make sure that the score layout, our scores are clean and looks good at the very first sight of it. Yep. So please be aware of that. Apart from it being easy to read, apart from it, saving a lot of time, first impression, that is the most important thing. Yeah. Your arrangement might not be the best arrangement in the world. It might not sound good. Again, that's personal preference. But if it looks bad, if you're going to an interview, let's take that. If you're going for an interview and you're not wearing the appropriate attire, you don't look good. First impression is everything. Even before you open your mouth, before you speak, your physical appearance, how you dress to the audition or to the interview, plays a big role. Yeah. So first impression is very important. It affects your credibility as an arranger. Okay. Now, moving on. So, what are the things that we have to look at when we're talking about score layout? Now, this is I'm giving you an example of this is a typical lineup that we use in our orchestra here. Where I work with Orchestra RTM, and this is the usual lineup that we use. And because of the small lineup that we are using, I tend to write my arrangement, my score in orientation of landscape, not portrait. Because if I use portrait, for example, I get lesser bars in one page. Yeah, so I like to save pages. So I prefer using landscape so we get more bars covered. Okay, but if I'm writing a bigger score, that means there are more. If I'm using more instruments, for example, if there are horns and full woodwind sections, and then you've got horns, and then you've got all the percussions and whatnot, like a symphonic score, then of course we will be using portrait. Yeah. But in this example I'm giving you, because it's just a small lineup of instruments, then I prefer using landscape. Okay. Again, this is personal preference. You can use portrait if you like. Yeah. But for me, I like using landscape. Okay. Now, first things first. Double bar lines. Yeah. These are double bar lines. Double bar lines will indicate, will tell you that you are entering to a new section. And when musicians, when they read your score, when they see a double bar line coming in front, yeah, it tells them, for example, in this flute score, it tells them, oh, okay, we're moving into a new section. Okay, we are moving into a new part. This is clearly the intro, right? And then I put a double bar line, and this is the beginning of the verse. Yeah, this is the first verse of the music. So when you put a double bar line, it clearly indicates that, okay, we are entering a new section. And at the double bar line, on top of the double bar line here, at the top of the score, I will indicate a rehearsal mark. And since there's a retard 1 bar before bar 5, then I reinstate the original tempo, which is crotchet 62. Okay, so double bar line, rehearsal marks. Okay, rehearsal mark is another very important thing. Yeah, it helps the musicians see the markings clearly. Okay, so if you stop somewhere at bar 17 or somewhere, okay, let's start from bar 15 or measure 15, so everyone can see measure 15 clearly in this box. Yeah, so rehearsal mark, as long as you double bar line, as long as you come to a double bar line entering a new section, then there should be a rehearsal mark. Okay, right. Now, indications here, like for example the keyboard holding pads here, it says play lower register with root. So these are basic simple instructions that will tell the players that okay, he knows what to do. Okay, so that he will know how to play these chords and where to play it. So we give a simple direction like play lower register, so he knows that he has to play it somewhere around the mid or to the low mid area of the keyboard, and play it with the root. Okay, so he's going to play, he will be playing the D chord, he'll be playing the D note, B flat over D, A minor over D, G minor over D, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Another thing, dynamics. Yeah. Many scores that I see, that I've read, that I've played, somehow, when you miss dynamic markings, a lot of the arrangements that we write, especially if they are new music or new arrangements, if you don't put dynamic markings, then even the conductor, even the music director don't know what you want. Yeah, especially if you're not there during rehearsal, then if you do not put dynamic markings, then it's really not going to help. Yeah, and the music is just going to sound flat. You don't know which part is pianoforte, which part is forte, which part is fortissimo. You just don't know. Okay, and then things like dynamic markings like getting louder or getting softer. These are very, very important. These are details which all arrangers and orchestrators, you must pay attention to these kind of details. Yeah. students, please take note, okay? So now, you can see these notes above, yeah? This is the melody line, okay? Now this is a pop music, yeah? So pop music with vocals. Now, why is it important to include the melody line? Well, it gives a guide both to the music director, okay? So the conductor sees and know what the singer and where the singer is singing. And it also gives a guide to the pianist. In a pop orchestra, normally there is a pianist. So the pianist will know where the singer is singing and what are the melodies that is being played. As a music director, it will enable him to check the melody against the harmony. If there are any problems with the harmony, he will be able to check melody note against the harmony. Okay. Another important thing is that if the singer gets lost, and this is very, very common, it happens all the time. So when the singer gets lost in singing, it actually the pianist and the conductor will somehow be able to help, especially the pianist. The pianist will, play bits and pieces of the melody, so it gives kind of a reminder to the singer where the singer is supposed to sing. Yeah. So this can be very, very tedious. If the melody is simple, then that's not much work. But if the melody, there are semiquavers and then there are syncopated rhythms like this, then it takes time. Yeah, it takes time. It gets quite tedious, but it is very crucial. Yeah, there are many arrangers that I know who doesn't put the melody line, but there comes the risk when singers gets lost or things like that can happen if you do not know the melody. There are 20 songs in a concert, for example, and we can't memorize all the songs by heart, you see. So having the melody line here, the melody guide here will help to make everyone's job easier. Yeah. So it is an important part actually in preparing your score. Okay. Now, moving on, looking at the phrasings. Okay. I played the violin, so I know, I understand the workings of the string section. So for me, I will write the phrase markings, the slurs in the string section. If you don't understand it, well, you can either include legato, or you can put a phrase marking so that they know, you want it to be played legato, or you want it to be played separate bows. Yeah, it helps a lot. It helps a lot, and again, that goes to saving time. Yep. If you already have markings like this, slurs and you have dynamic markings. Okay, you have here. This is a solo part for the violin one, so it helps tremendously to the players to understand. Oh, okay, so this is what the arranger wants. Look at that, for example. I did not put the bowings. I did not put the exact bowings, but because I indicated with this slur line, yeah. So it tells the players, okay, he doesn't want it to be separate bows, but he wants it to be played legato. So they will probably write a suitable bowing for this phrasing. Okay. Right. Looking at phrase markings for winds, for example. Yeah. So I don't know how the winds play their instruments legato, or how they blow their instruments, where they take their breathings, where they take their breathings and whatnot. So what I do is I just include a phrase marking here so that they know, so that it tells them, oh, okay, so this is a whole phrase. So they're going to play this probably in one breath. You know, at least it gives them an indication, or this is how this is the intention of the arranger. Okay, so again, having all these markings, these are details which tells the player, which helps the player to understand what is required. Okay. Now, moving on. Now, looking at the piano part here. Okay. I give this this line, for example. Now, let's play it out. Okay, so this is the kind of the style of playing that I want the pianist to play at that moment. Yeah, so it says here piano and vox only. Vox is my short form for vocal. So at this section here at bar 5, the singer comes in only with the piano. Okay, so this is the style that I want the pianist to play. Okay, now if I'm there at the rehearsal, you know, I would tell the pianist, this is my idea, because I'm not a pianist. This is my idea. So maybe you can, if the pianist wants to elaborate, if he feels that, you know, he can add a bit more notes, then he will do that by himself. I do not want him to. I do not want to disturb his creativity. Yeah. So this is my general idea of what I want. And, you know, again, if I'm there, if I'm not there, well, the music director, if he is also an arranger, then he can tell the pianist, maybe you can add a bit more notes. Yeah. Then I write that. I write this for 4 bars. Okay, this is the idea that I want. Then it goes to the 5th bar here. Okay, so bar 5, bar 6, bar 7, bar 8, and then at bar 9, I just write a slash. So, and then I indicate play simile style. Okay, so here the pianist will read or have an idea of how to play that part. When it comes to bar 9, you know, understanding the idea that I want, then he does his thing here. Okay, and I know I no longer need to notate this. I use the slash. Okay, now if you see when I highlight that, okay, you can see this is the second voicing. Okay, the green color is the second voicing, the blue is the first voicing, and then there's an orange there playing. That means if I unselect it, you don't see anything. But if I select that bar, you can see things happening behind. So yeah, that's another tip that I can share with you later on, maybe in another video. So what happens here is that even if I press play, the notes are still sounding behind. So what I've done is that I've hidden these notes behind and just make the slash appear in front, okay, and the chords. Okay, so when I print this score out, the pianist will no longer see the notes in front, but only the chords and the slashes. But the purpose of this is just that I want the chords to be sounding, as it gives me it becomes a guide for me when I write my music. Yeah, more professional and more experienced arrangers, they don't need to have the chord sounding, but those are, to me, levels like my teachers. You know, they are all very experienced. They've got fantastic ears. You know, I don't have really good ears, so I need to hear my chord sounds to help me with my other parts, right? Like my violins and winds. Okay, so Maybe I'll make another video and explain to you how I do that. Okay. Okay. Moving on. So this is the first verse, I believe. Okay, bar 5 until bar 15. Again, coming out to the new section. Right. So there's a double bar again. You have a rehearsal mark there. Right. Okay, so the string comes in and then a new section. So everyone knows at bar 15, a new section is coming up. Probably is the second verse. Okay, when typical pop music progression, you've got the intro and then you have first verse, you have the second verse, and then you have the chorus or the bridge, whatnot. Again, clearly indicated. Double bar line, rehearsal mark. Okay. Similarly, you can see here keyboards play low register with root again, and then the bass comes in. Okay. Now look at the drums part. Okay. It says here cymbals lightly, so it tells the drummer he might not play it. The drummer might not play it exactly like that, but when he reads cymbals lightly, so he knows what to do. Okay. Again, I trust the musicians. The musicians who are playing on stage, they are professional musicians. They have creativity. They know what to do. So when you give indications like this, it helps them to trigger their creative thinking. Yeah. Okay. And then clearly indicating here. So this is a solo part, and then this is a tutti part. Okay, so that your players, when the whole section is reading it, oh, this is solo, so the concert master will be playing this line, and then when it comes here, everybody else comes in. Again, dynamic markings. Okay, so you have a crescendo there going to the forte. Right. So again, you have double bar, and then you have the rehearsal mark there. Okay. Nothing much going on here. You have the bass lines, okay, and you have the chords, okay, and everything, as you can see, has been indicated with a slash, right? Now, I don't write fill-ins, so I just put in fills. So the drummer knows, this is a pop music, so there are many kinds of fill-ins. So again, I leave it to the creativity of the drummer. And then comes the part where the drum starts playing his tempo, okay? And then you have the bass player playing his bass lines, okay? Now, looking at the drum pattern, okay? This is how I write my drum pattern, okay? I guess this is very common. For either Sibelius or Finale. This is how we write drum patterns. Okay, so what I do is I see many arrangers, they be doing like that. It doesn't help, because when the drummer sees this pattern, he knows that it's going to be all the way like that. If you keep on repeating that pattern again and again and again and again, it makes the drummer, it forces the drummer to read the score where it is unnecessary. He knows that this is a pop song and the pattern is just that. So what I do is to make the life of the drummer easier. He just needs to count the bars, so I don't do that. Okay, so what I do is, and this saves time on your side as well as an arranger, what you do is you just highlight that, okay, and then you put a repeat pattern here, and Sibelius will read the parts for you, for example. Yeah, so this saves you from repeat. No need. Yeah, you just do that, and that's enough. Okay, so the drummer, after knowing the pattern, you have established the pattern for the first 2 bars, then he only reads the slashes, he only needs to count the bars, so it helps him a lot. Okay, I don't know why I forgot to put the slashes here. Okay, so this is this is how I wrote this part just now. Okay, it depends. Okay, if you're using Sibelius, okay, then we have this plugin called the Rhythm Section Assistant. Very, very, very useful. So what I do is this, again, establish the pattern first so that the drummer or the bass player or the drummer and the bass player knows what to do. Okay, so this is the basic pattern. You can leave it. I normally leave 2 bars. Okay, and then I highlight that. Okay, and then let me see. Is it notations? This is okay. Wait. Composing tools. Okay. That's the Rhythm Section Assistant, right? And then quarter note slashes. Okay, that's all you have to do, and then okay. And Sibelius does it for you. Okay, so let's do that again. So because the pattern is repeated, don't force the player to read in repeated patterns unnecessarily. So just let them focus on reading the chords instead. Okay, so that's why, like the drummer, the bass player normally plays in a pop tune. The bass player normally plays a repeated pattern. So indicate the pattern first 2 bars, and the rest of it you can just select it, and then again use the composing tools. You have the Rhythm Section Assistant. You have to download this plugin, by the way. Okay, and then quarter note slashes, and that's it. Okay. Similarly here, you can see the chords in the piano. There are chords behind it. I use the same plugin. Okay, to hide it. There's nothing in my guitar parts, by the way. Okay, why? Because I just need to imagine what the guitarist is doing. I do not need to hear his sound. The only sounding parts, the only rhythm section that has sounding parts is the piano, the electric bass, and the drums. Okay, the rest, like the flutes and the oboes, okay, they are obviously sounding. Sometimes I use the keyboard pads, but many times I don't, in only certain circumstances. But my piano is always sounding, my bass is always sounding, my drums is always sounding. Unless if I have solos on the guitar, normally there are no sounds there. Okay. As you can see here again, you have the violins coming in. Again, you have your dynamics there, your phrase markings. Okay. And you can see every part, okay, going to a new part. There's a double bar, there's a rehearsal mark. Okay, I indicate here distortion, for example. Okay, melody line is there. If you have specific lines for the bass player or any players to play, then you write it out without the slash. These are rhythm patterns that I want the pianist to play. So when the pianist sees this, it tells the pianist, okay, so I have to. This part is an attack part. Yeah. So they have to play like this. Okay, so that's how it sounds like. Yep. Right. So that's basically it. Yeah, you just have to make sure these are all the details that we have to make sure. These are important, crucial informations for the musicians, for the conductor, to know what the arrangement is all about. Okay, this is the master score. This is the master score. We haven't talked about the parts yet, right? So, looking at the parts, after we've completed the master score, yeah, after we've tidied up the master score, after we make sure that all the details are there, then we have to tidy up the parts. So every part has to be checked, yeah, and we have to make sure that all our parts are clean, This is a one-page score, so it's easier for me to show you the example. Maybe I'll show you another score with many more pages and many more instruments after this. Yeah. Okay. Look at the piano score. So if a musician sees this, then he for the very first time, you've got all the information required. Then probability of the music to be played for the first time, from beginning until ending, I think it's a clean score and it has been performed. You can search for the video of this performance, Concert Orang Kita, I believe. Search it on YouTube. It's there. It's on my Instagram, by the way. This live performance is on my Instagram. Check it out. Please follow me on Instagram. Please follow me on Facebook. You can follow me on YouTube as well. Okay, so when you have a clean score like this, it makes everyone happy, and everyone will be more than happy to play your score. All right. So, what do you think of this video? If you have any questions, or if I missed out anything, or if you have any additional information that you'd like to share with me, please leave your comments down below. And if you have any suggestions of any questions, any suggestions of videos that you'd like me to do, please let me know. I'll be happy to consider and maybe record another video for you guys. Okay, so happy learning, happy exploring. Keep those creative ideas flowing, guys. So take care, and thanks again.